Bad, and the Guilty is recorded live with the men and women of law enforcement. All suspects are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Now, here's your host, Iredell County Sheriff Darren Campbell.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
Well, thank you for everybody joining us again on The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty. It's on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. You can set your clock by it.
I'm glad you said it was Wednesday. I swear I've been thinking all day it was Tuesday.
Well, you know, our guest here, Senator Sawyer, I'll introduce you in a minute, but, you know, we said we was always going to call you and give a day or two head notice. Well, me and you thought yesterday was Monday, so.
Absolutely. So
in our heart,
we were actually scrambling going, oh, God, I hope Vickie answers the phone. Please, ma'am, answer the phone.
Yeah,
she did. She's
I said,
awesome.
Bill, well, we know you're in session, so it's a good day. You know, a lot of people, we'll get a little bit more in the conversation, but Vickie, I want to thank you for being here, and we'll do the introductions here in just a second. But as always, you can follow us on Facebook, the app, WSIC website, X, LinkedIn, and I'm trying to think of anywhere else. 100.7 FM, and Bill, can you remember the other one?
No.
I know 1400.
I can read our sponsorship, though.
Yes, we do got to give. And Vickie, this is one we asked all the ladies and guys and anybody else that comes on the show, even the dog, to make sure that they shop at our sponsor.
Yes.
They do a great job. So, Bill, I'll let you.
I will, Sheriff.
Thank our sponsors.
Actually, Joe, thank you for sending this to us. The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty is proudly presented by Harrison's. From the job site to the rodeo to the backyard hammock, Harrison's has you covered. They're the Southeast leader in Carhartt and area workwear, and nobody has more in-stock work boots. There again, son's going back to school Saturday. We are going down Friday night to get him some clothes and get him some boots for Western Carolina. They can get you ready to go boot scooting from the Western favorites like Cinch, Rock and Roll Denim, and Wrangler. Visit their Mooresville location or shop online at harrisonsusa.com. Harrison's for your homework, Western show, and wow.
Not only they're a sponsor, I'm a customer because you know me, Vickie. This can be embarrassing, but I'll raise my leg. I've even got my Harrison pants on today.
Oh,
Nice.
I can't remember what they are, but I know that's where they come from. So, do a lot of shopping. Bill, both of our boys are huge, and
Yes.
I should say, 15, 16 shoes, and Harrison's got the best work boots. Of course,
Well,
the
let me-
15 and 16?
yes, and he is on.
So, well, I know
size
your son is
shoes.
tall,
Yes,
and he's
ma'am.
a football player at Western Carolina, and your son is a size 15
Lawson
shoe?
is 15 and stands about 6'4", right at it, and wears, I can't remember, 16 shoes. I do know the other week he's texted me, Vickie, and said that, what was it, $400 alligator
Yeah,
boots
the
on sale
alligator
for
boots
$100.
are on sale for
And I read it
$100.
and I said, according
Nice.
to him, but I don't think
So when
that
he
was-
came home, did you say, I saved you $300, Dad?
Oh, he'd already told me to give,
Oh.
and then I guess he thought so. But yeah, they do. I mean, obviously, Harrison's, we appreciate them being sponsored. They do a lot. They've got some. If you need it, they've got it. And they're a good group to
And
go
a great,
see.
and
You
a
got to
great
go by there.
community supporter for law enforcement. I know, Sheriff, we talked about last week, but just to kind of reiterate it for National Law Enforcement
Yes,
Week,
absolutely.
They provided several different items, giveaway items, and door prize items for our officers and our deputies. So again, thank you so much to Harrison's for your kind donations.
Well, you can always do like Randy, Marion, and Jennifer does. Say Bill and Darren sent them.
Hey, maybe
I don't know if that'd help them.
Sheriff and Bill sent you.
Or Bill and Sheriff? No, Sheriff and Bill.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's gotta be Sheriff and Bill.
100%.
And
Yeah,
for an extra 2% off, tell them Vickie was there with them.
They might charge you a little bit more if
There
you
you
say
go.
my name.
But I will say
So-
this. Apparently, according to my son, the new fashion trend for the football player and or weightlifter is to have a Carhartt shirt
Absolutely.
and cut the sleeves off.
Yes.
I'm
You
like,
gotta
no, son. That's an expensive T-shirt to be cutting sleeves off of.
Bill, guns out, fun is out.
That
right?
probably works for them more than it works for us.
Oh, absolutely it does.
We'll just
I need
do it.
long sleeves, long pants.
Oh, man.
Poncho.
Okay.
Well, luckily Harrison's has it for you. All
They
for
got
you.
it. They got it.
Well, Vickie, everybody
Sir.
should know Vickie Sawyer. Our senator from the District 37, which you serve all of Iredell, which was Iredell and Yadkin. Now it's Iredell and Northern Mecklenburg. God bless you.
I miss Yadkin.
Yeah, Yadkin and Bodie and them, they're a good group of people up
Well,
there.
so for me, Yadkin was great because they still have that old school Southern charm.
Mm-hmm.
They looked at people from Raleigh as like regulators. So in other words, they didn't want you around.
Right.
The only time they call you is if they really, really, really need you. And most of the time, they don't need you. It's a little bit different in North Mac.
I can see that. It's
Yeah.
like, I hear a lot, and one of Mitchell Setzer's famous saying, which is one of our representatives, the safes, they think the same way, as that we're never safe if the state's in session.
That's
or the General
right.
Assembly's in session. So, but, hats off. You've been there since
Gosh, 2018.
Is it 18?
2018, yeah.
You've done us a good job, and we do
Thank you.
appreciate it. I'm not just saying it. I think anytime, one good thing about having Vickie as a senator for us is anytime I ever had an issue, and we'll get into some of the ways she's helped us in law enforcement, it's been a phone call away. And I've got to say, it's not always worked like that. So from us and from the law enforcement perspective, we very much appreciate that, answering the phone when we need it and working on things and advocate for us. And I know you talking about some of the appropriations and things Vickie's worked with us, but anyway, tell us, before we get into that, tell us how much fun you're having representing Iredell, I guess.
So I always
Or
have
not.
fun. I always have fun representing Iredell. I mean, we are like the most amazing county, I think, in North Carolina. One reason is that we go from farms to Ferraris and everything in between. And the thing that's the commonality between everyone is they're just good people. They have a really good sheriff and a chief deputy as well.
Bless your heart.
They do. But, even though we may all sound a little different or live on a farm or drive a Ferrari, really we have the same common goal, which is to make Iredell the crown jewel in North Carolina. And so wherever I can advocate for Iredell in Raleigh, I do. And that's why you guys are so important, especially with your role in the Sheriff's Association. And I think, I don't know, you guys have been here. Darren, you grew up here, and Bill, you grew up here. I'm not from these parts. I came down here in 1998 after I went to college at UNC Charlotte and grew up in Davidson. So, I mean, I think we have some of the best representation in Raleigh that we've ever had with you and with our clerk of court and with our, House members, our Senate members.
Register Deeds Office.
Register Deeds.
Does good.
Yeah, don't you think? I mean, I feel
think
like
so. I come up through, obviously, Bill, we're not going to tell our age that much. We're a lot older than that. But we did grow up here. And I was just meeting with two rookies a while ago that applied for a position. And when I have guys, I usually try, not rookies, they're officers, but I feel I want to meet with the top three that may or may not. I just like to meet with them. So the conversation come up, how it's changed. And we sort of asked them today, and Bill, you'll know exactly. We was asking about. They asked us about the older days. I'm like, first of all, before you end up getting fired, what do you call it? Older days. But I told him, I said, are you clear 3-digit? Which was, we had to use a payphone.
Oh, see, now you
to call
are telling. Now you
911
are
to call.
telling
Yeah,
our
we didn't
age.
have cell phones.
Oh.
They absolutely cannot believe that.
Did you not have radios?
We had radios, but when they'd give you a number, hey,
Yeah.
call
Oh.
James,
If you
or
needed
call
to
Vickie
secret
Sawyer.
squirrel somebody,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. You'd ask,
Oh,
were you
I
clear?
see.
Because we didn't have cell phones, and you couldn't carry enough quarters.
So you would drive to the store,
Uh-huh.
find a pay phone. Yes, those are things, ladies and gentlemen, that you used to have to pay to use a phone. And then you would ask them if they were clear 3-digit, which was the 911 system.
We want to make sure, but we
And
didn't
then
interrupt
you
an
would-
emergency
yeah,
call.
Yeah, we didn't
Wait.
want to interrupt an emergency call.
Yeah.
And then you would call in, and you would carry on your conversation, and then you would, you go answer your call or whatever. Mm-hmm. We got about 30 seconds left, Sheriff, and Miss Vickie.
Yes, and then we'll come back about the
and before we
representation.
tell our true ages, we'll come back. Miss Vickie would like to talk about some of the things you have going down in Raleigh
Sure.
for law enforcement, for the citizens here in Iredell County and across the state of North Carolina. So, again, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes,
I do
sir. We're
We're going to
appreciate
come
it.
back and talk about the good representation. That was a question she'd asked me. So how much we've got it and how much different it is. So we should be back in about 2.5 minutes. If Joe gets back, contact your friends. Tell them to listen on Facebook Live. Watch it, comment.
And we'll answer your questions.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
Now, I like the good old days comment.
Welcome back to the Good, the Bad, and the Guilty. I sort of laughing at Joe's music. You never know what you're going to get out of
Joe, awesome music, buddy.
I know.
Rock on.
So, listen, thanks for coming back. We just come back from break, and I know we spent a lot of time talking about our sponsor and stuff, and done a little bit of introduction for Vickie. But you'd asked the question, how's the representation and the relationship now different from years ago? Obviously, I was not where I was at now, so I didn't see the inner workings of it at that point. But I will say this, as far as picking up the phone call now and the relationships we have with the legislators, and you're right, clerk court, rest deeds, even the Mooresville City Council, we work well. I think it's probably about the best I've seen it, at least my part. If you need something, you know who to call, and they answer, and they're very responsive, and everything clicks.
Yeah, it does.
A lot of
It
times
really
it was
does.
always, hey, I don't like this one, I don't like that one. But now I'm totally calling you Jim Mixon, Todd, Mitchell Setzer, Jeff McNeely.
And I can tell you, just as one that gets to kind of sit back and watch how it happens, the interaction between everybody down in Raleigh, you and Representative Carver and Setzer and McNeely and Sheriff Campbell and through the Sheriff's Association and other of your other senators and other House Representatives members, it really is a neat thing to watch happen, because I appreciate your candor and your honesty, because we may call down, Sheriff may call down and ask for something, and if it's yes, you'll say yes, and it happens. And if you say no, it's no, because it can happen. Instead of we'll see, or maybe when you the ability to have a clear, concise answer from all of you, not just you, but not just because you're sitting here, but if it can happen, it happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. And I think it makes things go a whole lot better, because it's not your sheriff. You're not sitting around waiting 2 or 3 weeks for something that was never going to happen, that on the hope of maybe it does.
Yeah.
And you guys are not sitting in Raleigh waiting 2 or 3 weeks waiting on us or Sheriff Campbell to make a decision when it was yes or no. So I think that makes things work so much better.
Hey, I hope I don't get in trouble, but I have a good old Iredell County story about Sheriff Redmond in a good way. And this is respect the man and love the family. But also a former representative, Robert Brawley. Do you know the story? Someone's
Not
pulled
sure.
me in.
I
Okay.
know both of them.
I know you do, and they're both living and wonderful men. But so I was asking about Iredell County story, and then we have a fellow who is a lobbyist that is from Iredell who lives in there. He moved away a long time ago. So anyways, there was a big speaker vote for the House of Representatives when Robert Brawley was serving. And it was contentious because it could have been the first Republican speaker after 140 years of control or 130 years. Anyways, it was right in that time. So I think Robert was on the fence about what he was going to do, because there was a split between Republican and a Democrat speaker. And I'm not sure which way it goes, but I do know that Sheriff Redmond was invited to the House floor. He sat on the floor and watched Robert Brawley take the vote that he needed to take. Now that is
That's
some
swag.
serious stuff, and
That's
I
good.
love it. I love that story, because he was like, this is the vote we're going to take, and I want to make sure that you're here to do it. And he got to sit right at the front of the House and watch Representative Brawley take the vote.
And I'll tell you, from working with Phil Redmond and being
yeah.
a great sheriff, I don't care what to say. He trained us and looked out for this county well.
Absolutely.
And, I'll
He
never
did.
forget when the judge tried to stop saying in God so saved the court. I won't name the judge,
And take the Bibles out of the courtroom.
but Phil Redmond sat there and basically told him, says, you know what, I'm going to open court, and I dare you to lock me up.
Yeah.
And you know what, it's still up there on that wall, and they still
love
say
it.
it every day. So,
And if I can, I have a sheriff and sheriff's association kind of story
Yeah.
with a senator who I will leave nameless, but you would know him if I spoke of him, because he had a whole lot of clout. We go down, the sheriff's association was representing our office on an issue that we were having kind of local, and several groups had gone down to speak against the position that Sheriff Redmond and the Sheriff's Association had taken on this particular stance. And I always knew that there was horsepower in Raleigh. I mean, let's face it, there is. And I always knew that the sheriff and the office of sheriff was a very powerful position, all the way across North Carolina in every county. And the Sheriff's Association also had a lot of swag in Raleigh. So we find this particular senator as he is going to a committee meeting. And
I know the
he's-
story you're going to tell now.
and he was in a hurry, and he was focused, and he wasn't trying to hear us. And we said, "Sir, this is what we're here to talk about. We'd love to have your vote against this on this particular matter." And he stopped on a dime, and he turned around and he looked at us, and I'll never forget the look on his face. He goes, "Where does the Sheriff's Association stand on it?" And we said, "Sir, strongly against it. He goes, all I need to hear. Walks into the committee meeting and says, ladies and gentlemen, we were going to have a hearing on this bill today. I'm pulling it. And it died in committee in front of everybody. I was like, wow, now that is just
But
juice.
you know, those relationships are, and it was not built by, and that's like Vickie. And I know Vickie's position sometimes with the caucus and what you have to do, and we have to understand that, and she understands ours. But I've got to give a little heads up and give Vickie some credit, some of the things that you may not see that comes back to us locally. One is we did buy a new boat about 4 years ago, which was used with drug dealers' money. That we need to replace one on Lake Norman. Vickie had already had one in the pipeline, so she knew that we was going to look out, or Vickie knew we were going to look out to move one to Lake Lookout. So she put an appropriation in for us to get another boat to service Lake Norman.
Yes.
And the way my math works, if it's an appropriation from Raleigh, there's 100 counties that put in, including Iredell. We got 1 penny in that fight for every dollar. That benefits the citizens and the people here. And we could not have done that without you. On top of that, we got a mobile command
Bus, vehicle, yes.
You know, that's one thing that made me change my mind. It really wasn't our agency. It was the Highway Patrol. Whenever the fatality happened on the golf cart years ago, when they had to talk to the families with those bodies, I said, that will never happen again. So I went to Vickie, and you was with me the day it happened. I told Vickie, here's what we need. We have if there was something happened at the airport, if we had a tornado or hurricane come through, we have no way to get together and communicate collectively with other agencies. So Vickie went in, and I do remember this, I'd asked for a little more than I thought I'd need. Vickie come back lower number, and I said, I can't keep up with the Joneses like that. But we made the money right. And one thing that people don't see, and we will, and that thing should be here in summertime, but we wired it, the money was involved for state's police department, the Highway Patrol, ECOM, fire department. Everybody can come, no matter whose situation it is, can work out of that thing for the benefits, and it's freestanding. Otherwise, we would not have been able to do that without Vickie Sawyer and the reps. And Vickie, I know everybody else voted on it, but you're the one that took it and ran with it. And I've said that. And the ROV, we've got a remotely operated vehicle underwater. Two of them. That's right, 2 of them.
Yeah.
That was unbelievably. We were one of the very few in the western. We were on very few here that during the latest hurricane back last October, was able to take them up there and search for bodies with our things or be asked to do that. So now the reason why do we need that on the lake? One, we have the largest man-made lake. Second is, we learned when, I cannot remember, I know it's been texting when the firefighter died trying to recover the body.
Yes.
I do not want that to happen again. So if we can launch an underwater drone or a remotely operated vehicle to see and sonar in, and actually it can detect where the bodies are at on the water. If we can retrieve those and save those divers from going that water, I mean, that's something for Iredell helps us.
Not only are you saving the divers danger, but you're also being able to recover those individuals in a timely manner to give the families peace of mind that their family member is no longer, underwater. Just lots of things. And I know that you, Ms. Sawyer, and other elected officials get a bad rap, but I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, these folks are down in Raleigh working for everybody in Iredell County every day. They deserve grace, and they deserve way more thanks than what y'all get.
Some of them not as quick to take the calls Vickie is, though.
There are one or two.
Hey, so
But every time we go down, Vickie will introduce me as president or the chairman of the association. I don't ever know what to say, but it's good. And Vickie, we're proud to have you representing
you're
us.
very kind.
So,
That is you.
We talked.
I've got chill bumps just from that. Thank you so much. It's not easy for me to take compliments, but hey, have you guys seen another new toy out there for lake stuff? It's actually a drone that has a rescue rope. That if a swimmer's in distress, you can fly the drone over. And I know it works probably better in beaches because you have a pretty secure shoreline.
Absolutely.
Maybe that's another thing we can mess around with.
Anything that we can do to help safety of
I know.
the lake, I'm telling you, the lake, last year was really, knock on wood, I know the Lake Patrol guys are probably listening. We really was fortunate last year with, I don't think we had a drowning in Iredell. I don't believe.
Well, and when we do, we have them off these rental boats,
On the
which is
rental
one
boats.
of the reasons we started for this Lake Norman Marine Commission stuff is because, that's one of their functions was to regulate rental boats. But, it's the wild, wild west out there, guys. And people are really getting hurt and they're not knowing what to do. And I don't know that there's a balance between regulation and fun, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are the ones who enforce it, so you have to be the ones to do it. But it's dangerous. Lake is dangerous.
And the Lake Norman Marine Commission, I know that they didn't. It's the old one actually, I guess, is officially dissolved now.
Well, as of Lincoln County voted to be resolved.
Which that's the governing body on the lake, for those who may not listen. It was formed in 1969 or 8, I can't remember.
69, yeah.
Okay, 69.
Yeah, and so it was put together by general statute, and the whole idea was that they were being able to pass rules, and then those rules would have to go to each county as ordinances. So the county adopts the ordinances, and then you guys, when you write a ticket, the DA will actually enforce. Well, that was the part that was missing, right? They never really took it to that next step where they had the county adopt the ordinances. And I know this is all kind of wonky and stuff, but what it basically went into is you guys would be out there doing your job for Lake Patrol, and the DAs in counties, I'm not saying Sarah, but in other counties, weren't able to pursue or actually enforce the tickets that you guys, so it basically ended up a $50 fine. Well, we got people out there with like $200,000 and $300,000 boats, and if somebody blows by their, I mean, not boats, but $200,000 and $300,000 boats, but $200,000 and $300,000 docks.
Yep.
And if you got
Absolutely.
somebody blowing by there and you get a $50 ticket, they just spent that in gas going by.
Sure,
that
Yeah, and that was one, and that-
Absolutely.
It's like, whatever, you know.
And that was one of the questions I had when I seen talking about the magistrate's office down in. We're the big, we have 270 some miles of shoreline, over half the lake. And then, and Vickie and I spoke about it. Believe it or not, is the magistrate down there? Is it beneficial to have it there or have it in Iredell, or do we need? I mean, usually we arrest. We go to where we make the arrest. We come back to our county to do it.
Right.
But that's one of the things, But if we have to depend on Mecklenburg
I know.
to say what's breaking the law in Iredell, I'm gonna tell you, DWI, you would just good
Yeah.
luck next time. I mean,
So the Senate budget actually has an extra magistrate in it for Iredell County.
we're the biggest user of it.
And we can absolutely use them. So in about 15 seconds that we have left, folks, we're speaking with Senator Vickie Sawyer here today. Tune in to Facebook, on Twitter app, or however you listen to WSIC. And we'll be back in about 2-3 minutes. Thank you so much for tuning in today.
That's so quick.
I know.
It really.
Joe, you know I appreciate you. This is my Alfred Hitchcock music.
I was wondering.
Every time I hear that, I think of Alfred Hitchcock.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in today to The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty. We are here with Senator Vickie Sawyer, who represents Iredell County and Northern Mecklenburg County. Sheriff Campbell sitting over here to my right. I wish we could play what's going on during the commercials.
I do too, a little bit.
That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it
You know,
would.
I'm just going to say it's not what we about solved Mecklenburg's problems because I was thinking about Vickie gets to serve or represent the northern part of Mecklenburg, which is totally different from down in Mecklenburg County. But there's a lot of news.
100%. Have y'all been paying attention to like this felon that's been elected to city council and now she got her hand caught in the cookie jar?
1994, when you go to federal prison and then you get elected to represent.
I know that she'd always introduced herself when she spoke as a formerly incarcerated person. Like that was her shtick, right? Like, so she had been reformed, and which I'm happy with, right? I mean, she's proud. She was happy with it. You felt like she may have learned her stuff, but you guys know better than me. When the feds come knocking on the door, they don't play, do they?
No.
No, they're pretty.
They're nicer than we are, but anyway.
And I will say, not just because you're sitting here, but they're going to do their homework on an elected official.
Yeah.
And Charlotte has a history of that.
Who has a bully pulpit
Yes.
to cause them problems if you're not correct.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a mayor not long ago that got caught for taking bribes to the FBI in an undercover operation in Charlotte, if I'm not
There's some
mistaken?
shenanigans down there, yep.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, we just had the resignation of Tarek Bakari because he got pulled up to the big leagues. So now he's part of and I spoke with him today, and he really wanted his wife Krista, who's kind of like, they're like a team, kind of like you and
Right.
Stacey, like a really good team about, doing stuff in the community. And so Krista wanted it, and I'd supported Krista, and Mayor Lyles broke the vote and didn't vote for Krista. And Mayor Lyles called me, which I actually have a really good working relationship with her. I mean, she's pragmatic and understand what she has to go through somewhat. I mean, I've never had to serve with a formerly incarcerated person
Right.
who's under investigation. So I don't know what that's like. But she had broke the tie and didn't choose Krista. And it's just like, it's just a hot mess down there. And WBT radio is all over them. And there's just crazy amounts of drama going on in city council.
Chief Jennings has seemed to be a good chief every time I've had dealings with him. And, I think he does. That's sort of where, he wants his agency to look professional. I agree with the against the external base because I'm like that. I believe that people deserve a professional looking organization. And some of the things that some of his arguments on that case was he didn't want to look like the military put out in downtown and with the external. So I can see that. And as far as whatever else they worked out, they had it with Kurt Putney, the original issue with the retirement coming back to work. There's always something that happens.
Sheriff, you guys do deal with this a lot, though. I mean, I'm sure, well, I know people are nice to you, Bill, maybe to you too, but I mean, sometimes people aren't nice, right? And they say mean things. And I think, especially for me, if I were to call the Senate and say, this person was mean to me on a text, I mean, do I get a $300,000 payout? I mean, you know what I mean?
You kind of got to let it roll off your back.
It's a little bit, you're right. I mean, it's a little bit different. So I don't know. That was very
And
interesting
you got to remember,
me.
elected has a lot. In my opinion, has nowhere near the protection as a private person does. I mean, especially in a slander lawsuit. So, I don't know. Not that that's what they was going to do, but you kind of got to let it roll off. You got to be tough.
I think so, but maybe it's a different dynamic too, because like when I'm dealing with folks who are at the local level, I try to do the same, chain of command. Mm-hmm. But, so I would talk to you first and then maybe, like that kind of stuff. But maybe that's the rub where a city councilman and the police chief were kind of at odds and maybe it should go through the manager. I don't know. How does that work?
Over something that relatively minor. I mean, it's you're going to wear a vest. Obviously, if you're a police officer, you're going to wear a vest, or a law enforcement officer. An external vest versus an internal vest, and we end up with a $300,000 settlement. There's more there than there's
and I
more
think
there.
it's a
I would think
gotta
so.
be more.
Yeah.
I think it's more, at least here, I don't have to worry about, commissioner. I get elected myself, I go to them fund, and that's it.
Yeah.
They don't tell me how to supervise, hire, fire, and all that stuff. But you got to remember, a police chief's a little bit different because the way I understand, he works for the city manager, who works for the board, and if you had a city council, here's what I want, and that mission couldn't get accomplished because a little blowback from the chief, then that's probably how you get to that point.
Yeah. So that was the first kind of bit of news, right? And then we've got the Tawana. I wonder if the chief was like, thank God. Now the press can go look at her
something
instead
else.
of me.
Well, Senator Sawyer, while we have you, maybe
Yes,
you can
sir.
help educate our listeners and some of us on the finer points of legislating.
Oh, gosh.
And there's something in Raleigh, and if you'll kind of lay the groundwork, maybe we'll get into the rest of this segment in our final segment. But there's a difference between being a sponsor of a bill and a co-sponsor of a bill. And you have put yourself out there and sponsored as primary sponsor some extremely good legislation this year, some bills that you've got spun up, some that will help law enforcement and most that will help our community. So if you could educate our listeners on what's the difference between sponsor and co-sponsor.
Yeah, for sure. So if we're sitting around and we have an idea and we call bill drafting, and bill drafting drafts it for us from our idea, then we are the primary sponsor. So you'll see, and generally the first person is the one who primarily is driving the bill. The second and third are there to help and, come together. It depends on the sponsor, but that is what a sponsor is. If you co-sponsor it, it means you are looking through your member dashboard every day, which is they update when the bills are filed, and you're like, oh, that's a great idea. Let me just click the button and I'm going to co-sponsor it.
So basically it goes down to, I'm sticking my neck, my reputation out on the line versus, oh, Sheriff Campbell had a good idea. I'll click onto that.
That's why I don't co-sponsor a lot. If I did when I was a freshman, I try to read every bill and I put my name on it. And then I was like, man, you don't know what that bill is going to look like when it comes through committee. Yeah. And if your name's on it as a co-sponsor and you don't know, because when a House sends a bill over to the Senate, it could talk about I don't know, just any kind, pick something, raw milk. It could come over as a pro raw milk bill, and then we send it back as like an abortion bill. And now your name is stuck on this abortion bill as a co-sponsor.
Can you remove your name if it gets to where it's so out there?
Not on, if you're top 3 and then the co-sponsor. Really? There is some time where you can remove your name. Yes, you can go to the clerk and then there's like a thing, but for the most part, you're there, man. You're there. So I don't co-sponsor a lot.
One of the things that you've done for law enforcement, and I had my papers in order, and now they're totally
I messed them up for you, Bill.
Is Senate Bill 320. And let me say that if you are a law enforcement officer or have a family member that is a law enforcement officer, you should be calling Senator Sawyer's office today in Raleigh and thanking her for being a primary sponsor on this bill. And gosh, we got 2 minutes left, but maybe you can explain to us the special separation allowance bill for, and Sheriff, I know you have some things
the Sheriff has really been the one who drove this.
And I got to give credit to Adam too. He did a lot of the writing. Eddie Cobb with the Sheriff Association. This has been something, is basically for 30-year employees that we've been, when defund the police come, it really affected your middle management and a little bit higher up. Well, obviously that's been 5 years as of, I think, this past week. Well, those people retired. So we tried to retain those young ones that were coming up through. So basically, if you do survive 30-year career, a lot of people don't understand we have a forced retirement, which means once you get 30 years, you have to age 62 to collect your special separation. It's basically a thing to county, whatever they do for you. It's a little bit of a thing to help you get to I guess, Social Security and things like that.
So this is not the pension
this
state
is not,
sponsor. This covers the county or municipality's contribution.
The state pension is you contribute your money.
Correct.
And then there's a match sort of a county. But yes, but this is a special separation for law enforcement, supplemental for law enforcement to get you to that point. Well, me, for example, I'm midterm, I've got 30 years. I could have probably retired a lot younger, but when you're in a term, you stay a year longer or 2 years longer.
Let's keep you around several more years.
Let's do that.
I appreciate that.
Yes. Let's do that. And we got 30 seconds left, and there's no way you're going to finish talking about special
even though he
separation.
was caught driving a state trooper's car down Statesville.
Yeah, just one person seen it.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in today. We got about 20 seconds left. The Senator has done spilled the beans on that one.
I'm sure Bill's
so
going to set
when
me
we
up
come
for that.
back, Sheriff, you'll need to answer that. But we'll be in our final segment when we come back. Thank you so much for listening today to The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty. Yes, Colonel. Yeah. No, sir. No, sir. He wasn't speeding. I promise.
Bill Hamby?
Downtown state? Yeah, he was downtown, sir. Oh, sorry. We're back on air, sir. I got to go. See you, sir. Sorry, Sheriff.
See, y'all want to make fun of me and give me a hard time. Before we address that, please remember you can follow us on Facebook. Okay, now I better say don't leave any comments. But anyway, Facebook, LinkedIn, WSIC
awesome.
website, the app. I'm trying to remember, and X.
Yes. Hit him up on
And obviously
Twitter, formerly X,
listen,
formerly known as Twitter.
And if you get home tonight and you've ate supper and you chill and watch TV, you can always watch the video on WSIC News and leave us a comment.
I figured out a way to get my phone to show on my television. Actually, my son showed me.
Oh.
That's called casting.
Thank you. Yes,
I didn't
that's
know
what
that.
it was. Yes.
I don't know how to do it, but I know
You guys
I
are
did not.
fancy.
I did not.
Oh,
You're
listen,
hot, you slick.
we're learning. I just recently got internet just back in November because I've never had service. But thanks to the General Assembly for
Yes.
providing that grant, and it's actually.
And if you do live in that area of North Iredell, they just did another grant from the General Assembly for the Department of Information Technology that's going to put fiber out in there. And I will share with you, because I thought of you, Sheriff.
Yes.
Because I know exactly where it's going, and I'll send you that email to show you where they're going to do it.
You make a lot of happy people because
Yeah.
that's what we end up getting fiber from Xeris, and it's one of the best. I mean, all during COVID, when I had kids, I remember, I think I've told Bill this, I'd run up to church to use a Wi-Fi in the middle to let the kids do homework.
Yeah.
And so now that we actually have internet at the house. So,
Yeah.
all right, Bill, if
right,
y'all
Sheriff.
can make fun of your stories, then I'll get back to my retirement.
Well, let's cover retirement first,
Okay, well.
and then we can talk
Yeah.
about you driving
Well,
another agency's Mustang through downtown Statesville yesterday. Let's talk about retirement.
First of all, they showed up at my office.
And Senator, I promise you, if I keep on, I may not make it to retirement. So, Sheriff, tell me what I may or may not receive, sir, if I retire.
Yeah, we'll come. Yeah, you might as well write yourself out of this one. We'll just skip you to the gun bill because I'm not sure.
There you go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But anyway, Senate Bill 320 that Vickie and Berger actually was, and also Ford, which I'm not familiar with Ford, but he must be a pretty good dude to do this. So.
Yeah, he is.
And
He's
our
in Rowan
House
County.
guys actually signed on to a House version, but Vickie actually called to have one of our senators be a primary sponsor in this. So basically what it is, I'll tell you, if you get to 30 years retirement, if you stay, or if you're still providing for your family, or your agency is so small that your sheriff or somebody's talking to you, hey, stay a little bit longer. You got to stay. And myself, you were losing your supplement every year. Every year you stayed, you were losing your retirement. Yes, and a lot of what it does, it forces our guys to take those 30-year retirements, then they'll go teach at the schools, or they'll come back part-time for us, or they'll go do their own thing so they can collect that supplement, because in their eyes, they're losing it. So now what this is, if you work 2 more years, say 30, and we'll just use even numbers. Let's say you work for 2 extra years past your 32 years. Instead of cutting off at 62, it would go to 64. You work 3, it'd go to 65. And honestly, with us, we're not in the get-rich business. So most people, it's hard to finance a long retirement with just working 30 years. And I've said that forever. So,
And one thing that our taxpayers need to know is the amount of money that you are making when you hit 30 years, that number locks at 30. So it doesn't continue to increase the more you work. So it's not like you're making any more money. It's just you've made that conscious decision to work and protect your community longer, knowing that you're only going to get a set amount of money.
but senators can make amendments to the bills that, if you work 3 years, you can lock it in.
That's
I'm just
that
saying.
primary sponsor, right?
That would be that primary
There
sponsor.
you go, primary sponsor.
But Vickie, I'll
sir.
say this again, and I'm not just bragging because I'm telling you, you're receptive to us. And we do have, I've got to work with Mitchell Setchler, Jeff
do.
McNeely, Gray Mills. As far as picking up the phone the first time, or Vickie called me at 8 o'clock at night and said, hey, Sheriff, you need to be aware of this, or let me ask your opinion. That don't happen in a lot of places across the state, and we do. And I have sheriffs ask me all the time, how do you talk to your senators? Can you get her to do? I have them call me to get to you if you sit on the committee.
And another
Eddie
person,
Caldwell being one of them. But
and another person that's just recently arrived in Raleigh, Representative Carver.
Yes.
He's very. I mean, all the Iredell County
Todd will
folks
be
are.
great.
I will say this, but I know Representative Carver, having been in law enforcement and then in the teaching world, he kind of has a heart for this as well. And I know that he works well with you, man.
Can I brag on him real quick?
Absolutely.
well, I guess
you don't
probably gonna
mind.
cost me some viewers, but go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm going to brag on him real quick because, when Gray decided to run for Congress, we didn't know who was going to run to fill his seat. And I called Todd Carver, and he tells the story all the time. He was eating ice cream on the couch, and his wife said, what is Vickie calling for? And he said, I don't know. He probably wants me to run for something. And he said he went down the basement, take the call, came back upstairs, and he said, she wants me to run for the House. And he was like, I can't believe it. And he jumped on it. He's always wanted to do it. But I'm going to tell you, he's there.
talked about that forever.
Yeah, Dazzy really said, I didn't know that part of him. I just remember I met him campaigning for you in 2016, I think. And he
14.
14.
Yep.
And he would, that's right, that's when Sarah Hare
And
Tice
again
was
at
running.
18 when you ran, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was 14 because
That's
we
right.
were doing, I was working for someone else, Sarah Hare Tice at the time. But he would be there from sun up to sundown, and he would talk to everybody who came through that line. I mean, he was really a good advocate for you. And I never knew that he always wanted to run. So anyways, now he's got the chance, and he is definitely doing a great job. I mean, he's there in the morning when I get there. He's there in the afternoon when I leave. He is like calling everybody. He's really
Addison says,
doing good.
you know, she says she sees him all the time. Now, Todd will always poke fun. He goes, the second worst financial decision I've ever made in my life was to go to work for the General Assembly.
That's
he was
right.
a teacher because he didn't, he pays $5 on the school board in his chair, and he learned a lot from that. He got 200 and some, but now he's with General Assembly. And y'all do not make very, very, very.
$13,951 a year.
So y'all are paying to work.
It costs me to go to
Oh,
the
absolutely.
Senate.
That's what I mean. It costs
I have to pay for
everybody.
someone. I have to pay for someone to go to my office and fill in the holes when I'm not there. And yeah, it costs me to go. So yeah.
Yes.
So let's not talk about that too much in case my husband's listening.
There you go.
Well, we got to give Vickie another, and I know she is I believe a co-sponsor on this. I know you're a big supporter of it. I'm looking at it, but I know that
Yeah.
we have talked about it. I see you right there. So House Bill 50, which is the freedom to carry in North Carolina.
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of people ask me the difference between a purchase permit or the concealed carry. I like the concealed carry, even when we had let me back up. When we had the purchase, Vickie and I spoke about this. I'm very Second Amendment. If you got one, you should carry 12 if you can.
Absolutely.
As long as you're a good law-abiding citizen, because a good guy with a gun stops
Two
a bad
ankles
guy
and
with a
two
gun.
hips. That's 4 guns right there.
But the permit sort of protected the seller from selling to bad people. Now this, if the freedom carry, which is basically a constitutional carry, basically it's saying you have the right to carry a gun concealed. We have been up, and I strongly support that. I strongly support, and you shouldn't be held to a different standard just to carry a gun, which your Second Amendment guarantees
Absolutely.
you. But I also want to make sure we're not unsafe certain situations, which to me is high risk situations.
Right.
So it basically, and I've not read it in a couple of weeks because we moved one thing while the General Assembly. It's always a chess match with y'all.
Yeah, it is.
Match with y'all, but it's basically trying to make sure that we don't allow somebody's concealed carry, which can go onto a school, as long as they transition from concealed carry to a locked container.
Correct.
That's one of my issues with the school because
Yeah.
you really have in North Carolina, you can do a private sale at 18 of a pistol.
Yep.
It's not an FFL dealer. So you could conceal carry under constitutional, then transition. But you also, I hate to say young people and hormones, somebody gets
Oh, it's
mad,
true.
goes to the car, no, they got, that's one of my concerns. And that's what I brought up in our association.
So, Sheriff, I have an idea that kind of got slammed down when we were having this conversation because I have my concealed carry. I actually learned a lot in that class.
And you carry-
basically to make sure that if I kill somebody, how you don't come and arrest me. Because,
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, that's a big thing, right? Because you can so easily miss one of those pillars, and the next thing you know, you not only have the guilt of killing someone, now you're in jail for doing it, and
protects you
because you
across
just didn't know.
state lines. It protects you across state lines.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So my question is this, and Yadkin County, I told at the beginning of the hour how I love them. They still have hunter safety in school, which is all gun safety.
Absolutely.
We have
took it. It was
driver's
awesome.
ed in school, which can be a lethal weapon if you don't know how to use it. I kind of want to bring
And a
back
firearm every month.
firearm safety in school. The SROs could teach kids how to operate guns. And I think a lot of times people are scared of guns because they don't understand guns.
I remember
Absolutely.
taking that class at North Iredell years ago, and it was the wildlife that did it.
Was it?
And we were actually where the science building is now at North Iredell. We actually were there shooting skeet.
We should do that.
Wildlife was there,
Absolutely.
and they'd show you how to load the weapon, and they talked about pistols, rifles, shotguns, different types of shotguns. It was a great class.
Yeah.
It is, and you're right. We do. It's like a bill we've got. Well, we worked on for years. I want to put in active shooter or threats every. We do a fire drill every month. Let's do
Yeah.
one at least every quarter every year. But the school system didn't like that because some kids don't get scared if we have active shooter training, which is. But you had actually talked to me about putting in a bill. Give them 4 or 5 hour SROs can teach the trainer.
Yeah.
Understand nothing else. You're not teaching them maybe to be proficient.
Right.
Is you're teaching them also to respect it. Because my
Right.
problem with our kids when they were young, what if you go to a family or friend's house and they get a gun? Now my boys,
Right.
they can shoot, they can load, they can rack, they can do it. Stacy can as well. We taught them. So thank you for supporting that for gun owners. I did want to say
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
Bill, I know you've already sent me a text and you want me to reserve this. You better clear up that patrol car stuff or somebody will have me
Yes, sir. No,
before you even get started.
no, actually,
You're not waited about a minute, and I'm still trying to stall time. So
in the 2 minutes that we do have left, I do want to remind our listeners that our 10th annual Iredell County Sheriff's Office Teen Academy is now open. If you go to our Facebook page, there is a QR code on our Facebook page, on the app. We dropped it on the app today and on our website. If you have a child that is a student within Iredell County between the ages of, I think it's 13 and 16 years old, we opened it up today to the public, so please go on there, register. If you have any questions, you want any more information, call the Sheriff's Office, 704-878-3180. Ask for Sheriff Campbell, myself, or Matt Burleson, and we'll be glad to get you all the information. And then just one more reminder that Saturday, June the 7th and Sunday, June the 8th is our Women's Self-Defense class known as RAD. Taught by women for women. I believe you took the class.
My 3 best girlfriends, and all of our daughters took it. It was amazing.
And practicable
yes.
information.
Do not miss this, especially if you have young daughters or yourself. Please take this class.
It's free of charge, and one of the reasons why Sheriff Campbell wanted to do it now is we know we have a lot of college kids home for the summer and a lot of young people fixing to go to college, a lot of young ladies preparing to go to college. This would be a great time to have them take that class. Again, if you're interested and want more information, 704-878-3180. Ask for Sheriff Campbell or myself. All right, boss, you got 30 seconds.
I'm not going to explain. You're the one talking.
No, I just want to say thank you so much to Senator Sawyer for taking her time
I
out
feel like
today.
we cleared it
I wanted
up.
to clear up this call.
Let's clear it.
Colonel.
You got 18 seconds.
Yesterday, you had an
better
opportunity.
talk fast.
Yesterday, Sheriff Campbell had the opportunity to drive one of the new highway patrol cars. One of the troopers brought it by our agency. Great experience, great
guys.
interaction. Yes,
Great guys. So
no,
Did you speed?
I know. No,
Did you
I did not.
speed?
Vickie, thanks for coming. We'll see y'all next week, same time.
You didn't have to answer that one.
I know I couldn't get Bill. I wanted to clarify.